Yo, what is going on, everybody? It's Brave Cat here once again with another Frontier Signals update. So I've got some of the same things to run through today, as well as I finished part 2 of these catastrophist figure papers, and part 3 and 4 is going to get pretty interesting here, because then we get into the more modern stuff with people like Einstein, Charles Hapgood, Chan Thomas, Ethical Skeptic, and Ben Davidson. So, parts 1 and 2 is more historical and still pretty relevant to lays a lot of the groundwork throughout the 1600s, going through the 18 and even the 1900s. So you can go ahead and visit the website there for that. But we're going to take a look at everything with the space weather for now. So we do have a bit of an uptick back into the M-class range, but nothing too crazy. And it looks like the coronal hole stream has been starting to hit Earth now. So we have an uptick here in the solar wind, as well as looking at the BZ and the phi angle here. Looks like the only time here so far we've hit a KP of 5. Looks like that roughly lines up when the BZ went southward just a little bit and some stuff with the phi angle. But other than that, things are still pretty calm here. I only have a few sunspots to worry about, and there is one over here, this region on the far side imagery. So that'll probably be coming into view within the next week or so. And that's the first region I've seen pop back up on here since those other ones disappeared. And then taking a look at the rest of the sunspot images here, we have the regular sunspot image, so we can see this larger one here in the bottom left, and these other two regions here still looking pretty magnetically stable, but we still have some slight flaring possibilities. And then there was also pretty large filament release here right below that coronal hole, so that one was pretty immense, but it looks like it was pretty much directed southward. And if we look at Alaska here, we can see that on here as well. So I'm not sure if that top part here is something from the far side, but to me it looks like it's from the same filament eruption. So even though this looks pretty south facing, there is a possibility that there's a minor Earth-directed component to it. And looking at the Enlil spiral here, we do see something coming off of here, but I don't know if that's the plasma filament eruption or if it's one of the other flares. So wrapping things up on the space weather, that's pretty much what we got going on here. Just a minor uptick for now. So let's take a look at the earthquakes for today. So we are going to be still paying attention to Italy, especially just because of these volcanoes that are in the area here. So Campi Flegrei, Mount Vesuvius, and even down here we have Mount Etna. So it looks like we've had a small uptick in the earthquakes here. We've had 9 above magnitude 2. And some of these are a little bit deep here, so we have several that are roughly 38 kilometers deep, and then we have one here, 2.3 magnitude, that is 256 kilometers deep. So this whole area underneath here is going to be where those magma chambers are. So again, we definitely want to pay attention to what's going on there, but so far there hasn't been any serious earthquake swarms around here. And we haven't seen those just mentioned volcanoes on the list yet, so that's at least good. So when I take things over here to Earthquake 3D, we're going to take a look at the whole week worth of activity. So that's why things look pretty busy on here. And there might be a couple of little duplicate earthquakes every now and again because of the Australia feed. So starting off over here in the Pacific, we've got all these various deep events here, most of them going on down here over by New Zealand. And these deep earthquakes raised higher off the globe, they do show up elsewhere in the Pacific and a couple of other places, including that one in Italy. And we pretty much see a global 5.0 magnitude list here. For the most part, we've actually got a new 6 down here as well in South America, seemingly as the pressure transfers across the Pacific, with a 5 over here as well. And pretty much the only place we don't see 5s right now, at least, is going to be up here in the States, up in Canada, and this Canada feed, everything here in the red, is going to be coming from a 30-day feed. So that might throw things off just a little bit, but we can still at least see what's been going on. So there's been a general uptick in the last week or so. And, you know, especially depending on what kind of solar activity we get, we could see that increase even more. But we've got a pretty large stack over here in Alaska and Kamchatka, and various 5s over here in Japan. And then as we take things out to Central and Western Asia, similar story here, we got 4s and 5s, and another grouping over here with this other letter D. Then we take things over here into Middle East and Eastern Europe. So we've still got quite a bit of activity going on with these 5s and other stacks. So it seems like there's 3 total stacks here, kind of separately. We've got this one at Western Turkey, and then we've got one over here in like Northeastern Turkey. And then we have the one at Greece. So I can kind of turn these rings down so we can see a little bit better here of what we're looking at overall. So pretty decent uptick all across the board here. But other than that, there hasn't been anything too major. Got activity even going up here. And then, so just kind of wrapping things up here on the volcanoes. There's not a whole lot to report on here. So there's a volcano that was listed on here that looks like before the last couple of days, this hasn't really seen anything on here from 6 months ago. So that is a new volcano on here. And this one, looks like this one hasn't had anything crazy happen since like the 1960s. So potentially something to keep an eye on, but this one is also in Indonesia, where we see a lot of the other activity. But like I said, other than that, things are looking pretty much like they have been here for the most part. So that'll pretty much wrap things up for today. Make it pretty short and simple. So anyways, I hope y'all enjoyed. Please like and subscribe for more, and I'll catch you all in the next.